Hello everyone, can't stop thinking about someone, lover, past friend. Today I want to talk about 5 ways to stop thinking about that person. Hello everyone, I feel you, boom boom, boom boom. I know what it's like. I've had romances, I've had people in my life I can't stop thinking about. They're always in my head. I wish they were here. If they were here it'd be better. I wonder what they're up to. It really takes so much juice out of life because you're not living presently. You're constantly thinking of the future that you could have had with them or the past events. And it's important that we acknowledge it and we move on and we allow that to integrate to our DNA but not allow it to hold us back. So as always, I'm going to begin with a quote on the subject, and that quote is, "I must get my soul back from you. I'm killing my flesh without it." Sylvia Plath. I must get my soul back from you. I'm killing my flesh without it. What a great quote. I see this all the time. People causing self-harm, not eating because they're thinking about someone, doing the wrong things, doing bad things because they feel like their soul is being taken and they're destroying their own body, their flesh, in order to get it back. So I know personally that I have a concept of an ideal, feminine nature, beauty, truth, compassion, love, that yin of the yang, that direct opposite of the masculine. And I know, it's so beautiful. I'm so attracted to it. And what I've found is that when I meet women, I have a habit or a tendency, and tell me if girls and guys are ever like this, where you project onto them that fantasy. So you start seeing the cute little things they do as compassion. You start hearing words they saying, that's because they totally understand feminine nature, when reality is that it doesn't mean any of that, but you want it so bad. So you end up creating this ideal character which this person can never live up to, and ultimately because of that gap between who they are and what you want them to be, friction causes. It manifests itself in challenges in the relationship. And ultimately what happens is the relationship fails because those expectations can never be met, but you hold on to that projection. So later on, when you forget all the bad habits they had, you go back to thinking that, but they were perfect. Maybe they were the one, maybe they were, my soulmate, maybe they were the greatest thing ever. When, was it the projection or was it the person? Now I'm not saying that it's impossible, and I know I think I've had, incredible individuals in my life. I've had, one in particular soulmate who I can't be with and won't be with. Now, and that's a reality, it can happen. However, thinking about that person every single day is not going to help. And sometimes things are put together to fall apart, and things fall apart to be put together. And we've got lots of lifetimes to work this all out. So how do we stop this, right? How do we stop thinking about these people? Now, number one is white bears. We've done this before. I want you not to think, let's do this thought experiment and see if there's any truth to it. All right, clear your mind. I don't want you to think about white bears. Fluffy white polar bears is something I don't want you to think about. I don't want you thinking about these fluffy white polar bears cruising around and sliding on the ice. Do not think about these white bears. How did you go? I don't think you went very well. I think you thought about a bear. Now, this is what we do. We tell ourselves not to think about this person. But the brain doesn't work in negatives. And when you say not to think about this person, it has to think about this person to remove them. So remember that. Telling yourself or others to stop thinking about the person is just not helpful. Number 2. Instead of suppressing your thoughts, try changing your focus. For me, it's my children. Whenever I think about, maybe, and let's face it, it's romantic stuff, right? We're always thinking about an ex-lover or, something like that. For me, I just go, well, what's more powerful than the thought of that person is my kids. So I'll think about the incredible solar systems, which are my 2 daughters, and then that thought will generally fall away because that's stronger. Number 3. Acknowledge the beauty of sadness. What will happen to me is I'll think about this woman. I'll go, oh, she's the greatest. Man, I remember we used to do this and all these adventures and cool stuff. And then my mind will go, oh, but you don't have that anymore. It's not there anymore. And the negative thoughts will come. So what I do now is I go, you know what? So I'll think, for example, I'll be at a place, I'll be, underneath a bridge where a train goes over, and it'll remind me of sometimes I was under a bridge with a train with an individual. And I'll say to myself, that was really beautiful when I did that. Now let's be present. Because once you acknowledge the beauty, it becomes a positive memory, and you don't go in that train of negativity. And if it's a sad memory, if it's a genuine sad memory, if it's a death or something like that, acknowledge, you know what, that was really sad. Now, what's going on in this moment? Acknowledging the hormones that your brain's releasing is very important to stop removing, because all it's trying to get is get it noticed. I had a thought, here's some hormones, notice, did you notice? Yeah, okay, great, we can move on. But when you don't notice and push it away, hormones keep happening and depression sets in. understand it can be no other way. It can't be. If what you want was to happen, that would have manipulated the fabric of time and space and would have destroyed the entire universe. It cannot happen. It is only the way it can be because of the way it is right now. It cannot be any other way. It's a crazy lunatic's concept to think things can be different than the way they are. It's impossible, and they don't need to be different. Our small primate brains don't really get the big picture, so understand it can be no any other way. I did a video a while ago on connecting the dots, and that video was a great video. It's basically Steve Jobs talks about how in his life, you know, with the connect the dot picture, it's not until you get to sort of the last couple of dots you look back and go, oh cool, that's how they all connected. And if you live with faith and trust, you know, with the connected dot thing, we don't sit there going, well, this doesn't look right. 7 and 8 are too far apart, I'm going to stop this. You just keep going, and then you see the picture. The things that have happened to your life will make sense eventually. Trust me, I know that, for example, the people I think about, some of the romantic and lovers and the great people I've had in my life, they are important to me, and I had to move on from them, or I would never have met the next awesome person or the next opportunity. Space is important. If you're single, enjoy being single, because you're not going to be single forever. Therefore, you better get the most of it now, because I bet you when you're in a relationship, a few years later, you're going to wonder how you think about how great was it when you were single. So enjoy everything you can while you got it. Second to last, pursue self-development. Develop yourself. Become the best version of you. If you know, we talked about how to get an X back on that video. If you wanted to get them back, become the sort of person that they would love to get back with. If you're thinking about, you know, meeting the Mrs. Right, or Mr. Right has all these skills and qualities, become the sort of person that high level person would be attracted to. Don't just hope and wish, become the best version of you. And while you're doing it, the thoughts of these people will naturally dissipate because you're involved, engrossed in the only relationship that exists, the relationship with you. And from that relationship comes all your other relationships. So the quality of your relationship with yourself is directly proportional to the quality of the relationships with the people around you. And finally, trust in the way. I guarantee you that this universe is working really well, and it's done a great job. The last 14 billion years have been really incredible, and it's created you watching this video. Trust. It's not going to work out to a movie script that you've got in your head. It will work out much cooler and much better than that. And as long as you trust, you will learn from the lessons. You won't fight the way things are. Suffering and worrying and thinking about someone else is very simple. You reject how it is right now in lieu of an idea of how you'd like it to be with that person. Accept how things are right now. You're without that person. Accept it. And the minute you accept it and allow trust, those feelings can dissipate. I know it's tough. I still think about people from my past all the time, but using these tips, I found that hasn't gotten in the way of my life. It's definitely something to think about, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I'm thinking about you.